Hello and welcome to the platform. This is a mentorship-based television program that brings together young professionals, ambitious youth, and industry leaders in various fields. In today's episode, we have Celeste Richards, who's a clinical psychologist and trainer. She joins us to share insights on mental well-being, resilience, and most importantly, personal growth. They join us to ask her the burning questions, learn all about psychology, and importantly, inspire the youth at home. Let's see what they're all about and get straight into the show.
Hello, my name is Nicole De Freitas. I'm from Menzini, but currently living in Babane.
Hello, my name is Ransford Laye. I'm from Tingutini in Menzini.
Hello, my name is Nokunceda Mieni and I am from Babane.
Hello, my name is Wandile Kama. I am from Bolonjeni.
I work as a psychologist under the Ministry of Health, so I provide mental health services to all healthcare workers.
Well, I'm in psychology. I do academic assistance. I help students, and I'm a writer as well.
The business I do at the moment is I'm a psychologist and I'm also a founder at Lucido Wellness and Counseling. We provide mental health, wellness, as well as counseling services to individuals, corporates, schools, and a variety of organizations.
The business or the career that I'm in at the moment is in the career of psychology.
I think I've always been drawn to helping people navigate challenges and just seeing the need for mental health support in the country. So yeah, inside psychology.
I think it's a career that speaks to who I am as a person and it helps me understand the people around me.
I'm not quite sure if I can say I chose the specific career path, but maybe it chose me. But I remember how I was struggling with an existential crisis when I finished my high school. It made me realize that you need to have a strong mental health as well as support system as you navigate through making life-changing decisions.
I chose this career path because of the healing aspect of it. I wanted to help people to heal.
Career highlight definitely this year. I've been fortunate to be part of a team that developed the first digital mental health app for healthcare workers in Eswatini. So yeah.
Some of my highlights are getting a qualification, and one of the most significant ones is having my articles published in the paper.
A lot of our work is into the human capital space. So we're doing policy development, especially policies around mental health. We're doing capacity building in terms of workshops.
Some of my career highlights are that I've been able to pioneer the psychosocial support department at my workplace.
I think I deserve a seat at this table because it far be it for me to turn down an opportunity to learn, because I do know that for us to grow as young entrepreneurs as well as professionals in the mental health spaces, we do need to take a lot of time to grow ourselves professionally and personally. So I'm looking forward to having this opportunity to network as well as to learn from Celeste.
I think I deserve a seat at a table because Celeste is a trailblazer. And I admire the fact that she's been able to use her clinical expertise and also blending it with the public impact. And I also want to use my voice as boldly as I can as a psychologist, and while also staying grounded in the work of care.
She is, because the mentor today is one of my role models in the field, and her work is what sometimes inspires the work that I do as well. So it's a great opportunity for me.
I deserve to sit on the table with today's mentor so that I can be able to learn. It's a very good opportunity for me to learn and grow in the field of psychology.
And with that said, we would like to officially welcome you to the platform. In today's episode, as mentioned, we are joined by Celeste Richards, joining us as a clinical psychologist, a trainer, and most importantly, a PhD student. Celeste, firstly, thank you so much for making time to come here and join us. I think you are definitely the champion of the day. That's what we call them here on the platform. Today, you'll hear the champion word one too many times. So please just accept it. But firstly, what we like to do here on the platform, just to, break the tension, we have icebreakers, which you'll be answering truthfully. You'll pick 3 and then answer them for me.
Thank you so much. Sure. Okay. An icebreaker. If you had the chance to instantly master any new skill or hobby, what would you pick? Sure. In this day and age, I think it would be IT.
Okay.
IT skills, because I mean that's the way it's going, right?
Yeah.
And my psychology, there's nothing IT about it when you're training. So to definitely be that as a new skill. A new hobby would probably be to a choreographed dancer. So different types of dancing, whether it's belly dancing or hip hop or kwaito, whatever the case may be. But I think that would be a hobby that I would pick.
Okay. Next one.
What's one fun fact about yourself that most people don't know? Okay, so firstly, I don't think I'm funny at all or comical. So that's a bit of a hard one to answer. But a fun fact. That I think I can dance. I think, yeah, so then I'll dance in my room and in my house. But I mean, I'm not the greatest dancer, but it's a fun fact because I think I can, and I'll actually dance in public.
It's like singing in the shower.
Yes, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So that would be that. Now I'm very anxious about this last one. What's the most interesting book you've read recently that inspired your thinking? Sure. I mean, that list is long. I would say Spiritual Warfare by Charles Spurgeon. The book is called Spiritual Warfare by Charles Spurgeon. And it is a Christian book, but there's a lot of mental health, psychological concepts in there that are eye-opening and inspiring. Yeah. Thank you.
Now that we've gotten through that, I think it's time to, delve deep into the conversation. And, introducing you was one of the hardest things because I can't cover it all, of course, but you wear so many hats: money coach, lecturer, clinical psychologist, and PhD student. I think might be just one of the hardest out of them all. But now let's talk about the more professional side of things, the clinical psychologist, the lecturer, and the certified money coach part. What inspired you to go through all of these parts, and how do you think that, I would say, these roles connect to what you are doing?
So I think the first thing to highlight is that I feel like I'm walking in purpose. And so my purpose is to empower, equip, educate. And so I can't only do that in mental health. We have money, we have family, we have spirituality, we've got physical health. And so for me, even the training and the hats that I wear, if you see, I'm trying to equip myself in all the different areas of life so that I can then equip, educate, and empower other people so that they can live the best lives for themselves. So that's how I've incorporated it all.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And this is a mentorship, television program, like I mentioned, and we carefully casted people that are aligned to your profession and what you do. And I think I'll just allow them to take over now before we get back to me, starting with you, Nika.
All right, thank you, Pella. So, Celeste, you have been in this industry for a very long time and you are not showing any signs of slowing down. But beyond that, you've also diversified. I'm just very curious as to what sort of practices have sustained you in your personal growth, and what sort of nuggets can we as young professionals take away from your growth story?
Thank you. I think that's a really good question, especially within our field. Our field has a high rate of burnout, a very high rate. And I think because burnout is not seen like a broken leg or, if you had an operation, we tend then to not get what we need, even from the people around us, right? So it is important that you look after yourself. So I'm very intentional in my self-care. And people will say self-love. Yes, I do love myself, but self-love can, there's a very fine line between self-love, pride, and being arrogant and being selfish. I want us to rather talk about being self-full. I need to stay full. My cup needs to be full. So I ensure that I try my best. I don't always get it right. So don't think I'm a hypocrite when you see me at Spur eating a burger and drinking a milkshake. I try, right? So I try and eat well. I try and ensure that I'm getting good sleep. The basics. So I look at it from a body, soul, and spirit perspective, right? So I exercise, even though I hate it, but I know it's good for me. So I do the things that are good for me, whether I like it or not. If I'm on medication, I will comply to what the doctor says. I journal daily. every single day for the last 4 years, at least 3 pages. Yes, yeah, it's an amazing thing. And depending obviously on the season that I'm in, it will have different aspects of the journal. Maybe goals today, maybe emotions. The next day, maybe just thoughts. But I journal. I try and engage in activities that I enjoy as much as I can. So I will make sure I meet my friends for coffee. I actually put it in my diary as a date. So a client will phone and say, "Are you fully booked?" And I'll say yes.
Yeah.
And then they'll see me sitting having coffee, and they'll be like, "I thought you fully booked." I said, "I am."
Yeah.
That's part of my self-care. I need that coffee with my friend. Does that make sense? I try and instill boundaries. I'm an empath and I'm relational, so it's really hard sometimes for me. But boundaries are really important. And I do try my best as well at all times to forgive. I don't want to carry burdens and things that I can't deal with, because I'm just carrying, we say it's poison. It doesn't help me. So always just trying to keep my mental health, myself, my body, my soul, my spirit in order. I ensure that I attend church, because that's my spiritual life, read my Bible, I engage in my spiritual activities, and I have a psychologist. So I've been in therapy for 20 years. On and off, depending on what I need. So it may be every week, or maybe once every 3rd month. I do my general medical checkups once a year. So I'm very intentional in what we would call holistic health, and finding things within that for myself to keep me well. And then also professionally, you don't stop learning. You're a professional student, I feel, in this career. Yeah, I hope I've answered you.
You have, beautifully so. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, my colleague. And maybe coming back to Eswatini, and maybe some of the things that are happening in the country. So one of those is youth unemployment in Eswatini, which is approximately 56%. Then maybe the question would be, what advice do you have for young people facing this reality in Eswatini, especially when making career choices?
Look, I think that's a really important question considering the context we're in. I mean, we really have a high unemployment rate for the youth, which then obviously impacts mental health significantly. I think my recommendation to the youth who are struggling in that area, or even the people around them who support them, family, friends who are loving them, is to try your best at all times to maintain positive and to believe.
Yeah.
Because no one can guarantee you the job. Like, I can't say, go and study this and there's a guaranteed job. Does that make sense? It doesn't work that way necessarily. And I'm also a firm believer that when somebody's in that situation, like this youth who's unemployed and they're struggling, so they're obviously going to get negative, right? And sometimes they engage in behaviors that are not necessarily useful for their situation to try and cope. The important thing is to maintain positive thinking. It's going to happen. There's enough in the pie for all of us. We've got to have an abundance mindset, not a scarcity mindset. You will go where your strongest thought goes. So if I keep saying it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen, absolutely it's not going to happen. Does that make sense? And so, and I learned this, I'll be honest, in my early days of my career. So before me, there was only one psychologist, then I came, then another came. And then you start thinking, hey, mama, how many people in Swaziland use psychologists, and they're just popping up, which is a good thing. But you know, when you're in that practice at that stage, I thought, what do I do to keep marketing? I just changed my mindset. There's enough in the pie. I'm not fighting for clients. They will come. My door's open. They will come. There's an abundance, and it will come. And that really, really changed things for me. And I also then started not doing it out of fear. Because I think sometimes we take on things out of, like, if I don't take this client, what if another one doesn't come? You know, and I started doing it in faith. I started being like, I'm taking this client in faith, or I'm declining a client in faith. Because I don't work 8 hours a day. I will do 6 hours max. Because I need to give 100% to my clients. 8 hours, I'm not able anymore. In my younger years, when I just started practice, 8-9 hours I could push, but I can't anymore. Right? And so that would make me worried that it's only 6 clients. What if one doesn't come? I don't get paid if I don't work. You know, so it's all those things. And I just stopped worrying about it. I just believe there's an abundance, there's enough in the pie. I've done my part. I'm doing the best that I can. It will come my way. And so that's what I think the youth needs to take that. And then also, with regards to the question we asked earlier about self-care, for them to implement those things as well. Because the key is building resilience to cope. All these things don't bring the job. It just makes you manage in the stress of not having a job. Does that make sense? And if I'm managing better, I'm more creative, I'm more intuitive, I'm more imaginative, I'm more willing to go out and put myself out there. But if I'm feeling bad and I'm feeling down and negative, when I come and approach you for a job, you're already looking at me and thinking, this one's got no enthusiasm, nothing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think even the answer to your question previously about how, like self-care, I think is really important for the youth in that situation as well.
Okay.
I think I like the abundance mindset. I'm definitely taking that on home. Okay, thank you for that, Celeste. We are about to start September, which is the Suicide Prevention Month. And according to WHO, I think we lose about one person every 40 seconds globally to suicide, unfortunately. And coming back to Eswatini, we've seen a rise among suicide cases with university students. So what can you say in regards to us as people in terms of supporting? What should we look out for? What are the signs? And also, how can universities better help students overcome such challenges?
Thanks, Nicole. You know what? It's such a sad situation. I mean, you give me the stats of one every 40 seconds, right? I mean, that's terrible. I mean, it's just thinking of us sitting here already, how many people have, right? But what's sadder for me is our high rate in Eswatini. Per capita, if I'm not mistaken, we're probably one of the highest in the world for suicide, which for me is a huge problem because our country is not that small. We should be able to address the situation. It's multi-layered. It's not up to Nicole. It's not up to Celeste. It's multi-layered. It starts with each individual, family, church, organization, government. It's multi-layered. It's not something I think we can just deal with on our own. Like, okay, right, the five of us here, what are we going to do? Yeah, we can make a difference. I'm not saying that those are not the things, but if we want lasting impact, it's multi-layered. We need help from stakeholders. Psychiatric hospital. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like our resources. I mean, yes, there's a lot of psychologists coming up. There's a lot of different psychological counselors. The field is growing within psychology, but we still need resources. Do you know what I mean? So not every person's cut out to be in private practice. So how many jobs are there in the psychiatric hospital? There's only so many posts. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so like I'm listening to these organizations that are open. I'm like, thank you. Like, thank you. Like, you know, yes, you may not be able to admit people and give them medication, but a difference has been made in different areas, right? The microsystem, us as individuals sitting here and talking is making a difference. That organization, government hospital, and that's what I'm talking about, it being a multi-layered approach, right? But before we even get there, the stigma needs to break. We need to be talking about this like we talk about apples and oranges. The problem is the conversations are not happening, right? And so for these kind of things, I jump, right? I mean, it's time consuming, but I jump because it's part of my life mission to break the stigma that every single person will have access to mental health, because that's the other issue. People can't necessarily get access. Not everyone's on medical aid. Not everyone has the finance. We just spoke about youth unemployment. So can you see the layers that I'm talking about? That it's not just okay, let's put a program in at the university. Let's just watch the people. Let's have focus groups and discuss how people are. It's a lot more than that. You know what I mean? It's policy. It's other stakeholders. But the signs that we can look out for with people. And again, I think after 15 years of studying, you know, I read the books and I see what's there and I'm thinking, but this is not what I've seen.
What do you see?
This is not what I see. They'll tell you the signs are like changing appetite, changing sleep, withdrawn. But I've worked with numerous people over 15 years and they've had every single symptom, but they're not suicidal. And then I've worked with people who are actively suicidal and they don't have any of those symptoms. Or they're not sharing. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I think the key for me is always ask the question. If I see like you're sad and you're down and I work with you and every day I see how, but she's not eating, she's withdrawn, and I'm noticing there's a change of any sort, I will ask the question, are you okay? What's going on? Have you had suicidal thoughts? Are you thinking of killing yourself? The problem is we don't want to ask it. Because we think we're going to plant a seed.
Exactly.
I cannot make you want to kill yourself. No matter how much I ask the question. But because of that, we're now withholding information. The stigma continues. The person doesn't get help. Suicide
happens.
Am I making sense? And so if it was an open conversation, you see one of the students at university struggling, you go and ask, they say, yes, I'm suicidal. You know, I need to help this person get help. We've saved a life. Am I making sense? So I think for me, that's where it can start for now, that we are not shy to ask the question.
Okay. Thank you very much, Celeste.
You're welcome.
We appreciate your presence.
Thank you.
My first question will be on personal growth. I think there's a lot of people who tend to stagnate over time, and then we try to ascertain why they may be stagnating. So my question is, how much is an individual's mental wellness linked to their personal growth in terms of their career, their personal lives, and their personal space generally?
Look, I think there's personal growth, but we're within a context.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So if I'm in a family or a context where people are not growing, my personal growth won't matter. We're all the same.
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
True.
Yeah.
So Nicole's got no ambition to study further.
must I.
Ransford has no ambition to make more money. So we're all fine, right? But if I'm in an environment where these people are go-getters,
Yeah.
it's going to affect me,
Yeah.
right? So I think personal growth, depending on the context, will make a difference. But I think it's important that we never stop growing. David Malope, I think that's his name, from South Africa, he wrote a book that said, if you're not growing, you're dying. Don't think you're staying stagnant, you are dying.
Yeah.
We've got to constantly be growing. And when I heard of the book and I saw the title, I thought, that is so true. If you stop eating, you'll plateau for a while, right? And you will just stay the same. But eventually, what's going to happen? You're going to lose weight,
Yeah.
right? So anything that's not fed, including your personal growth, dies, right? And so for me, I think it's important because if I'm growing personally, my ideas are changing, my relationships are improving, my opportunities are more because I've grown as an individual. My relationships are probably going to improve. I'm probably going to make more money because I'm wiser about how to use my finances. So it's definitely important. If I could change the school system, there would be a whole class on mental health, personal growth, purpose, mission, vision, objectives, relationships, forgiveness. I say this all the time and I say it jokingly, but I'm serious. I had to learn about clouds. Cyrus and Olympus means absolutely nothing to me right now. But I had to figure out my purpose as an adult.
Yeah.
Wasted my time. Am I making sense? So personal growth for me is imperative. And I mean, I even think of parents. Like I think to myself, can you just spend half an hour with your child every day? Teach them boundaries, teach them forgiveness, teach them about mental health, teach them about relationships. I don't know about any of you. I know I didn't get that, right? And that's all personal growth and personal development. And I feel the more you put in, the more you get out. If I invest in myself, I've got to get a return. Does that make sense? It's a principle in life. If I put money in the bank and there's an interest, I'm going to get a return. If I plant a seed and I water it, I'm going to get a return. It's the same for my life. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, ma'am. Very well. Thank you.
I like how this feels like we're all in a session. Right? A question and a response. But let's take a short commercial break to just absorb all of that in. But we will be right back. More with Celeste Richards.
I hope this opportunity will give me the right direction to expand my mental health impact and also grow professionally and also personally.
The goal is to grow Lesotho beyond the borders of Eswatini. So with that in mind, I think I need to draw a lot of inspiration, but also establish connections that can help me to up the ante when it comes to mental health advocacy. So I think this is a perfect opportunity to help me do collaborations and network with the other young people who are in the same fraternity that I'm in.
I hope this opportunity will advance my career in the aspect of growth. I'll be able to perform my duties better than before.
Welcome back. If you just tuned in, you are tuned into the platform. And today, our champion joining us, we are joined by Celeste Richards. You know, before the break, we spoke about so much. If I could, I'd say rewind, go back, start from the beginning, because you will definitely be needing some of that. Moving on, Celeste, can we talk about vision boards, which is something that I think we've all adapted. It's become a bit fashionable, right?
Yeah.
But we need to understand the effect it has psychologically speaking. It's not just about maybe cutting out a Lamborghini in a magazine and putting it on a cardboard paper. So can you please explain why vision boards are effective psychologically speaking?
Habakkuk 2:2 says, write the vision down. It shall not tarry. It will come to pass. So yes, that's for me as a Christian. Maybe other people don't believe that. But then if I put the vision board separate from the spirituality, you will go where your strongest thought goes, like I said earlier. So if I'm looking at a watch every day, a watch is here at the forefront of my brain, which means my RAS, which is your reticular activating system in your brain, is primed to pick up things around a watch, right? So I'm saying I want to buy a Rolex, and I've put it on my vision board. I am going to be primed for a Rolex. So when a sale comes, I'll see it.
Yes.
Am I making sense? Have you ever driven a car, wanted a car or a phone, and then you thought you'll be the only one with it, and then next thing you buy it, and you're like, oh, but this phone is everywhere. That is what a vision board does. It primes your mind, and you will remove all things that have nothing to do with your goal. It helps you to be more motivated, more directed. I've done 5 vision boards in my life, and every single one have come to pass. And I'm not bragging, because I think this will work for everybody, even buying a house without money. And because it's primed your brain, right? As a man thinketh, so he is. This is where I'm going. When you wake up in the morning and you decide you're going to work, do you end up at the restaurant? No. Because you've primed your brain. So now imagine I'm looking at this vision board every day. Also, we think in images. When I say Coke, what do you think? C-O-K-E, or you think of a 2-liter or a can? We think in images. So writing our goals is great. It works. But having a vision board, because that's how we think, gives you the picture to see what you want. Does that make sense? So your brain starts working towards picking up the stuff that's related to that. If I didn't have a goal to have a Rolex, when I see the Rolex is cheap, it's gonna, it's not my interest. Does that make sense? But it may be for Nicole. She wants a Rolex and it's on her vision board. But if she wasn't primed for it, she'll miss it. So it's really just the focus, the motivation, sticking to the goal, priming your brain. There's a concept called value tagging as well. I mean, I could talk for days on vision boards, but for time, that would be the crux of it. And there's a thing called value tagging. You'll put value on things to achieve your goals. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
All right. So Celeste, the mental wellness at work, in the workspace, is a buzzword at the moment. And as someone who has the word wellness in the name of the organization, I have a vested interest in knowing what can we do to maintain the momentum that wellness talks are gaining, especially in workspaces. Because we don't want this to be a fad or a trend that dies down eventually. But how do we keep the momentum going? But also in understanding that part of keeping it going rests in young people in leadership positions. So what roles do people in leadership positions, especially young people, have in maintaining the momentum going with regards to wellness in workspaces?
I think that's an excellent question. Yes, you're 100% correct. At this stage, it is like a buzz thing going on, and we need to jump on that buzz. We need to jump on that bus. I think the first thing to keep in mind, though, is we've only got, I feel, in the mental health professional, we've only got so much authority. Because remember, you're working with another organization who you don't control or dictate, all the corporates. The thing is, I feel, once somebody gets in, is to sell it well.
Okay.
They must want more. Because I think the reality is, I don't know if you'd agree with me, a lot of the corporates do it as a tick the box.
Yeah.
So they call you in once, which I think is amazing and it's great. But nothing sticks without repetition. Does that make sense? So you do it once and then you don't go back, and then 6 months later the people are complaining, we got a toxic culture. Yeah, you will have a toxic culture. You broke your leg. Well, because the stairs are not fixed at work. They're still not getting fixed, which means you're going to break your leg again, right? So I think the person that gets in within our field needs to give them a taste for more. Okay. Right? Again, though, it also goes back to the stigma, because the young leaders that you're talking about, are they for mental health? Or are they for a good position at work? Or are they to want to make themselves look good? Those are things that are important. Does that make sense? Because that young leader, if they've got a voice and they understand mental health and the importance of it, they can push. Does that make sense? Also, I think the biggest issue is money and stigma. That's what I feel. And then if you want to get psychological, fear. People, I mean, if people ask me what I do as a job, I don't like saying I'm a psychologist. Straight away, they're like, oh, no, you're going to analyze me.
Yeah, you're gonna read my mind.
You understand what I'm saying? So within that corporate space, you've got people that are like that. So they hear a psychologist come in, shut down.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is also a lack of knowledge, a lack of understanding what we really do. Does that make sense? But each one of us, I feel, have a role where we can make that difference, whether we are called into a corporate or not, because you're going to go into a corporate one day. You're going to go into a corporate on whatever capacity. But if we are mental health advocates fighting for it, we can speak it there.
True.
In our first round of questions, we spoke about the field of psychology gaining traction and gaining momentum in Eswatini. So with regards to the future, so how do you see the field of psychology evolving in the next 5 to 10 years? And also, what should I focus on to stay relevant in the field?
So I think it goes back to my icebreaker about IT. So I'm a firm believer, and people may come down on me, and that's okay, that AI will never take over, not psychology. You need a human connection. I don't need a machine. And they can tell me a lot of information, but information does not heal me. The connection and relationship with that information is where the healing comes. However, it is important that we are AI competent, right? Why? Because the more people, the more you can get your message out, the better. AI can write a book for you in 2 minutes, right? So how many books do we have on depression in Eswatini? I think hardly any. I think Pumelela Projects had one where they wrote about mental health. If I'm AI equipped, publish a book, put together a course. So we've definitely got to get into that IT space for our work. For me, not for the therapy or for the counseling, but for awareness, for education, for tips. You know, the stuff that you can read and you can apply, right? So technology is really important. Teletherapy, I think COVID forced us to go into that space. And I do think it's going to become a larger way and a bigger way of people working. I mean, at this stage, I have 1 or 2 clients who are overseas. When people travel, their therapy doesn't need to stop anymore because it's not only in person. So get comfortable with doing therapy online. I think that's the other thing. Remember, there's research happening all the time within the field of psychology. So you need to also find your niche. Where do I want to be? Right? I'm a firm believer that we can't cover everything. There's too much in mental health. So you've got to find your speciality. Okay, am I going to be a trauma specialist? Then you start researching, training, doing what you can within that trauma space. Find a mentor, find a supervisor, find somebody who's got expertise in that area. If you see there's new, so like EMDR is a new therapy. It's not brand new, but it's not old. We don't have an EMDR therapist in Swaziland. We don't have one. And it's one of the best treatments for trauma. Right? And so you've got to be keeping up with organizations in the field, with associations. You've got to be finding mentors. You've got to connect with these organizations and associations. So a lot of people will be on LinkedIn, but they'll just swipe. They won't think to join because I think that's where you'll know what's going on. Does that make sense? Especially us in Africa, because we're becoming much more multicultural in psychology. Like there's African psychology. Does that make sense? Which I wasn't trained in at school. But I'm in Africa. I need to work within my context, which means I need to educate myself. So those are the kind of things. Teletherapy, being aware with AI, not for the therapy on my side. I think ChatGPT may actually end up killing some people, but that's just another story. But for other reasons where you can empower and equip people, finding your niche and pushing through aggressively within that, and joining associations, find a mentor, a supervisor. I think networking is key in this area because we're never going to know everything.
Sure.
Yeah. I hope that answers you.
Definitely.
Great.
Definitely.
Awesome. I think, what you're saying about finding your niche is very important. Like you said, we can't really do everything, so we need to find a specialty. So thank you for that. My next question is on, we've seen a lot of conversations around deadbeat fathers and whatnot. I really don't like that, but what are the impacts you think an absent mother has on an individual? Because we don't really speak much about that. It's always the males, the absent males.
So this is my, I'm not going to call it valid because it's not research, but this is my opinion based on 15 years of working with people and hearing that same story about absent fathers. So any absent parent, sorry to say, is going to have a negative impact on the child. It is not how we were created. It is not the order of the day. It was meant to be a mother and a father and a family, their children, right? I believe the reason people are focusing on absent fathers is because majority of the time, unfortunately, the mother's raising the child or the granny. It's a female. Does that make sense? So we don't have that much talk about absent mothers because the mothers are the minority that are absent. Okay. So that's just, I mean, that's not research. That's just from what I've seen and what I've heard and what we see every day. Does that make sense? And it's not a judgment or an attack on the fathers, but that's why I feel they talk more about absent fathers than absent mothers. But I do feel the impact is the same. Behavioral problems, emotional problems, abandonment, rejection, not being good enough, academic problems later on in life, relational problems with siblings, friends, family, and even later on in life because of that rejection, that abandonment. On not having researched this or like read too much into this, I do feel that we know a mother's role is very significant early days of life. Right, for bonding, for nurturing. A dad nurtures as well, but we've all got different gifts. Our roles have different gifts that we need to execute. And so either that's absent is going to have a deficit for the child, which is going to result in problems. Does that make sense? So for me, I'm not going to say it's worse to have an absent father than an absent mother. I don't feel that's fair. I don't think it makes sense because I feel both parties are, it doesn't say you need a 70% father and a 30% mother. You need 100% father and 100% mother. So if either are gone, there's going to be complications, I believe. But I feel it's been spoken more about from that point of view of an absent father because generally the mothers are left taking care of the child for whatever reason. Does that make sense? The stats don't show that it's mothers that normally leave. They are. I'm not denying that. But I feel that's why it's spoken about a lot more. But either way, I feel that there are negative repercussions.
Okay, thank you very much, Celeste. My next question is on resilience. Personally, I feel resilience is one of the key resources that someone can have for everyday life and generally. So kindly please share what ways someone can boost, sharpen, or recover their resilience, especially when faced with any kind of adversity. We spoke of suicide. A lot of people are finding it hard to bounce back from, sort of adverse situations. So kindly please share what ways regular people can use to boost, and recover that sort of resilience to move on with their lives. Yes.
Thanks for that. I just want to, if you don't mind, go a step behind that, before that.
Okay.
The stuff that we spoke about with self-care, I feel those are the things that we should be doing anyway. We don't wait for adversity. And then we start doing this thing. And I think that's a big problem we have as individuals. We wait until we're sick, then we go to the doctor. We wait until we're depressed, then we try and get help. But the signs that are happening before, we don't address them. We just keep going, right? And so I almost feel that we need to be proactive in our mental health, not reactive. Okay? So, and I'm not saying that's everybody, but I'm saying I've noticed this with a lot of people. We wait until there's crisis, then we want an intervention. But we could avoid crisis and just have challenge. Right? If we were intentional in building ourselves up all the time. So let's say there is somebody who builds themselves up and they are doing all they can, they are being proactive and a trauma happens or a death or a suicide, they get depressed and they become suicidal. The key is always to, number one, be honest and truthful with yourself that you're struggling. I think we sometimes tend to forget that point when we answer that question, right? I can't get any form of help. I cannot grow. I can't come back. I cannot be resilient if I do not acknowledge where I am. I have been hurt, I am sad, I am angry, I'm not coping, I feel weak. I feel inadequate, I don't feel good enough, right? But we don't do that. We try and make ourselves feel better. We show up and we smile and inside we're dying. And I understand why people are like that. I'm not judging it, I'm not condemning it, but I'm saying it's not useful. The second thing is to acknowledge your feelings. And I say this, I really want to speak to the men. Acknowledge your feelings. I mean, maybe not the men sitting around here because the inmates are house, right? But the men out there that will say, big men don't cry, big boys don't cry. And I'm like, okay, Jesus wept, who are you? Just a sidekick. Jesus wept, who are you, right? But I understand that it's difficult for people to express those kind of emotions, but at least express it to yourself. So acknowledge your problem, acknowledge the feeling, feel the feeling, get help. Make sure you're building yourself, body, soul, and spirit, whatever that looks like for you, right? But I also want to highlight, we're always talking about what we should be doing. There may be stuff you need to stop doing. right? So for instance, am I using social media as a comforter? That may not be beneficial for me. Am I waking up and looking at people's Instagram straight away, making me feel like my day is inadequate and I'm not good enough? Because everything you feed into your brain is going to influence you, right? Everything you put in your ears, in your mouth, that you smell will influence you. So the key is maybe there's things I need to stop doing that's going to help me, not that I need to add on. Am I making sense, right? So somebody who's spending 5 hours in the gym and their wife is complaining. Yeah, the gym is healthy and noble, but it's causing relationship problems. So you may need to stop that so that you don't end up fighting at home. Am I making sense? So it's a very personal thing, I feel. I don't think there's a blanket approach to this. We can throw out ideas, eat well, sleep well, exercise, engage in activities you enjoy, journal, volunteer, pray, go to church, find a psychologist. There's a lot of those generic things, but I think you've got to find what works for you. And at the end of the day, the key for me is being truthful to yourself about where you're at and being proactive. And in that way, you can build resilience, because you cannot build resilience from a point of thinking you're okay. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
You know, we've spoken about so much. I know that we spoke about unemployment and, you know, the mental challenges that unemployed people face. But now can we shift it to the employed but broke person? Because of things such as debt, you know, black tax. You know, there's a lot of things that affect us as the youth, because, you know, when you see banks advertising lifestyle loans, you're like, let's jump on. And then for the next 5 years,
You're crying.
they are you know, taking. From money coach perspective, can you tell us how we can then navigate the pressure after the milk has been spilled? Now we're talking about the after, cause
Right. Now we're being reactive. I didn't think this through. You know, my husband just shared something with me the other day that made so much sense. He said, we need to make decisions based on the possible consequences. Because we don't. We make the decision, then the consequence comes and we're like, but we need to think, what are the consequences of this decision? Will I be able to sustain it? Right? So there's the first answer. The second thing is, again, money is not just money, people. The note is not a 50 Rand note. That money has energy. It's what you place on that money that makes it. So is this money for freedom? Is it for status? Is it for power? Is it for living? What does money represent to you? What do you want money for? How much is enough?
Emily?
Right? So that's the first thing. What is my relationship with money? Because if I don't know what money stands for me, money controls me, right? We've got to have a budget. Not that I stick to one, but I have one. But we need to stick to it as well, right? But I'm not going to sit here as a hypocrite and be like, I stick to it. But we've got to have a budget. You've got to be realistic with yourself. The problem is people put their head in the sand like an ostrich and hope and pray that the debt will just go away. Or hope and pray they'll get a miraculous million fall from heaven, right? And I'm not saying those things are not possible, but you've got to take responsibility for where you find yourself financially and stop blaming people. We keep blaming. There's no jobs. That's why I'm in debt. There's no jobs. It contributes, but the decision you made. You decide what you're doing with your funds and your finances. Does that make sense? So your relationship with money, what does money mean to you? Why do I want money? And to address it from that point of view. Now you're in debt and you've got a rope here. Every month you're waiting for them to pull that rope, right? My thing is to address it. If you find, you know what, I can't meet this this loan amount, go before and take responsibility. You know what, Standard Bank, this month is tight. Can you help me? Is there a way that we can move the date? Is there a way that I can help me? I believe everything's negotiable, people. But the problem is we don't go and try and negotiate, right? We get scared, we get embarrassed, we're humiliated. Money makes pride. And the problem is people think that people without money are the ones that feel ashamed. People with money also feel shame. Money just carries a lot of emotion. And unfortunately or fortunately, it's the same as sex and mental health. There's stigma. How many of you in your family talk about money and how much, who's earning, how you're managing your funds? And so if we're not talking about something, it's got power over you. Mental health suicide is taking us out because we're not talking about it. Am I making sense? And so the first thing is to, again, acknowledge where you are, go and get the help, swallow your pride, don't be ashamed, look at the end result. Why am I doing this? Right? And then again, just be very wise about the fact that money carries energy.
True.
Okay. I think I'll allow us to ask our very last round of questions with very brief responses.
Okay.
So, Netta, over to you.
Thank you, Bella. Final question in regards to mentorship and your legacy. Have you received mentorship before? I'd like to believe you have, but okay. Now that you've told me that you haven't, do you think that the fact that you skipped mentorship, has it affected your ability to receive and give?
No.
And also, how, with the many hats that you wear as far as training, educating and equipping others, what role do you think, especially for us young people who are at a receiving perspective at the moment, what role do you think the ability to receive is going to affect our ability to give later on?
So yes, I haven't received mentorship. I have had supervision, but not necessarily a mentor per se. I think there's the difference between the two, and not that I was anti it, but it's just I'd need a mentor out of the country at the stage when I started. Does that make sense? There weren't many psychologists or mental health professionals who do it in the country. It has not impacted my ability to mentor anybody. My dream is to raise as many psychologists and give as much as I can from my experience, not from Celeste. Does that make sense? Yeah. Because I may have had clients that other people haven't seen, and I've gained experience or knowledge from that. So I don't feel it's impacted my ability to mentor. What impacts my ability is time.
Okay.
That's the issue, really. And then also, people normally will come with supervision requests, not mentorship requests. And I think maybe it's just the field that we're in, that you push for supervision, right? Not necessarily mentorship, but I think mentorship is key. I think it's a more personal relationship in some ways, a more informal relationship than supervision. And it definitely has a role. I do believe one of the things that I have considered is starting a mentorship program, where once a month, whichever psychologists want to come, we sit and talk about confidentiality today. We talk about ethics, that kind of thing. So yes, I haven't received mentorship. I would still receive mentorship if I found a mentor that I was happy with, even at this stage, because I feel like I don't know it all, and I'm very happy to mentor people.
Nice, thank you. Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe one last question to you, Celeste.
Thank you.
So, as a clinical psychologist with vast experience in the field, so I'm sure you've had to grow professionally. And maybe the question would be, beyond academic knowledge that you have gathered along the way, what skills do you believe are most important for success as a clinical psychologist?
So, separate from our psychology skills, like you're saying, the academic stuff that we've learned is the personal growth. You as an individual need to know yourself. You need to have emotional intelligence. You need to be aware of your traumas. You need to be aware of where you need healing, because that will interfere in our work. So I personally feel, and I'm probably biased because I'm a psychologist, everybody should be in therapy at some stage. We all go to the dentist.
Exactly.
So we all have a brain, a heart, and a body. Why aren't we all seeing a psychologist at some stage? But that's just my bias, maybe. But I do feel that if you're in the mental health field, you should at some stage have a process of mental health intervention, because all of us, whether we like it or not, have had some form of trauma, some form of hardship that would impact us. So that would be the one. The other thing I would recommend would be learning about other areas, not just psychology. You know, when we go to school, you learn psychology. We don't learn about money, but isn't money linked to mental health? Do we learn about the environment? There's an environment linked to mental health. Do you know that your environment will have more influence on you than your actual gifts and skills and how you perform? Right? Spirituality. Do we learn about spirituality? So no, because our field is very psychology. And so I would diversify and learn more those soft skills, which we would hope every person in mental health has a few already. But if you don't, soft skills. I would I would literally go and find even a coach. If I have an area where I'm struggling, I'll go and find a coach. I do random things. So for instance, I will ask people, what are my strengths and weaknesses? I want feedback. It's not nice. It's not nice when for 6 years you're getting the same negative feedback, which means you're not growing, right? But those kind of things are what I would recommend. So diversify your knowledge, not just psychology or mental health, right? Diversify your knowledge. Get feedback from people. Ask the questions. Read. I just feel mental health is everything. Does that make sense? Like medicine. Do you know which psychiatric drugs do what? We don't need to do it because we're not prescribed. But when you say to me, I'm taking Seroquel, I need to know what Seroquel is, because maybe that stomach ache you have is from the Seroquel, but we think I'm calling it anxiety. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So we've got to be familiar with other stuff. We don't need to be experts in other fields. But I do think it's important.
Thank you very much. I have been well answered.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alrighty. Okay, my last one for you today would be, unfortunately, on, again, the statistics that we're seeing around GBV cases in the country. Every other day, there's a case that's been reported about it. What would you say are the mental health effects of GBV, and also how can survivors begin to heal?
So again, can I go back a step? GBV, I feel, is there because of mental health. If we addressed mental health, we would have less GBV. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
People are angry, they're hurting each other because hurt people hurt people. If I went for help, I'm not going to necessarily hurt people. I'm going to deal with things differently. I'm not going to be disrespectful and abusive verbally to my husband. My husband's not going to physically abuse me because he's learned how to cope. I've learned how to cope. Am I making sense? So I just wanted to flip it a bit. But coming back to your question, yes, stats are extremely high. I feel, again, it starts with conversation. It starts with awareness. It starts with rallying. You know, I look at Swazi, I look at certain companies that do these, what do they call, roadshows? They make money, right? They make money.
They do.
What are we doing in mental health? Where are we putting it out there? And I'm not blaming anyone because it needs resources. Does that make sense? And these people have the resources, but it's more than just thank you. It's more than a billboard and a month of GBV and an awareness day. It needs to be an everyday story. It needs to be people talking. It needs to be somebody who's changed their life after GBV, sharing their story and not being ashamed, but saying, I came out of this, right? And so I think there's, again, multi-layers like that need to be addressed for GBV to actually come to an end. But I feel it starts with mental health. How do survivors survive? Acknowledging, getting help. Sometimes you can't do it on your own. Getting help, not being ashamed, not feeling guilty, because that's what happens when there's been trauma and there's been GBV, which stops people from getting the help that they need. But the key is to get that help, is to go out there and speak. Find that trusted person who you can talk to, even if it's not a professional. Find a pastor, a nurse, but get that story out. You gain perspective. Does that make sense? The person you're speaking to may be able to share something with you to encourage you, but I feel speaking is the first thing. The problem with GBV and trauma is that it makes you withdraw. Do you know what I mean? And so that it keeps you stuck and it keeps you in your pain, which you don't need to be. But I feel that's the first key, is to get help. Put your shame and the pain and everything else aside, because that's what's to keep you there. Go out and get help. Like I'm saying, a friend, a pastor, a social worker, a nurse, a teacher. Just get out there, but please be wise, obviously, in who you're choosing to share your story with. But that would be the first point for me, because thereafter, I think it's different for everybody. And obviously, a point of safety. You don't stay in the place where you were harmed. You don't heal where you were hurt. Does that make sense? So safety would be key.
Okay. For my final question, Celeste, I'd like to ask, how much of psychology and what do I call it, mental wellness is involved in raising children? You know, these days there's plenty challenges raising children. You've got gangsters and you've got kids are going through bullying and all that. So how much of psychology does a parent have to channel into their kids in order to safeguard them and, you know, and to sort of just to mentor them through their lives?
That's an excellent question. Excellent question. You're going to ask me to answer it quickly. Okay, I'm trying. So if we think about this, mental health is my mindset, right?
Yes.
How I think, how I feel, how I behave. Who nurtures that? My parents.
The parents, yes.
If my parents are not healthy, my children will not be healthy. If parents deny mental health, because we all have mental health, and that's the problem. People think that, or they make us believe they don't have mental health. So the same way you've got dentistry and you've got ophthalmology, we all have mental health, but it's ignored. And so children, like you say, are being bullied. There's gangsterism. People want to feel accepted. They want to belong. They want to feel wanted. They want to feel that they're good enough. And unfortunately, I mean, parents are going to hate me saying this, but your child generally is a product of their upbringing.
True.
Because how else are they that way? They were raised by you. And so if you're a hurt parent, you're probably going to hurt your child. If you're a parent who's ignorant about mental health, your child's not going to know about mental health.
Sure.
So it's important that parents, the same way they will investigate which school for education, investigate where your child is mentally and emotionally. And then go and equip yourself to help that child. Not that they may need any help because there's a problem, but just so that they can be the best version of themselves. How many parents do we know that will say to a child, "You're so stupid. Why did you fail?" They failed 1 and passed 7, but they're forgetting the 7. So those are the things that will influence how a child grows up and views themselves. Does that make sense? And if a parent's not educated or equipped themselves to know that this is not right for them, but they were brought up that way, because we just continue generational patterns, right? So if my mother used to shout at me for failing, I'm probably going to shout at my children for failing, right? If my mother used to give me a hiding, I'm probably going to give my children a hiding. Doesn't mean it's right. But we're not intentional, and we're not thinking about how we are parenting and the impacts and the consequences of the decision. So yes, it's imperative, and it's if you had to put in a percentage, how much percentage of psychology is needed to raise children? 150. Just to make my point.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Celeste. I think that speaks to most of Eswatini, because most of them are parents, some are raising children. And I think that there's so much that we learn today. The next generation of leaders can agree with me, right?
Yes. True.
Today was really insightful. And all I can say right now is thank you so much for sharing your experience with us, your knowledge, your personal life, and just we value you being here today, sharing your time with us, because, time is of the essence, and you chose to be here today. So thank you so much for honoring our invitation, for being our champion for the platform.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody and the questions. Thank you for having me here. I don't always feel like a champion, but today I'll take the title. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm glad that I've been able to share with you. Thank you so much, everyone.
You're welcome.
All righty. With that said, viewers at home, we are ending the conversation there. I know it could go on and on. I was actually triggered, like I wanted to ask so much more, but we'll have to end it there for today. Thank you so much for sticking around for the hour. I hope that was insightful to you at home and beneficial to the young people of Eswatini. But until next time, from us here on the platform, myself, Belonkosi, and the rest of the team, the next generation of leaders, and our champion for today, it is good night and God bless.
They normally say indlela ibuto klaba sembili. So I can mention mentorship, coaching, looking after yourself and taking care of yourself, self-care. So that is what, or maybe that those are some of the things I could take away home. We got the opportunity to be mentored, to be coached, and then maybe it felt like we're in a counseling session.
My key takeaways are definitely that we need to be more proactive when it comes to mental health issues rather than being reactive, and also having a mindset of gratitude and abundance.
I think today we learned that psychology is more far-reaching than many people understand, and it has a lot more impact on our lives than a lot of people give it credit for. So I think today was about raising awareness to make sure people know about psychology and its effects. Yes.
I learned that it's very important to think good thoughts, because where your strongest thought is where you will go. I think it's very important to be very intentional and project our future goals and aspirations in the things that we think, because it will eventually drive us to where we should go.
And that is how we wrap up today's episode. Thank you to you for sticking around as we shared insights and inspiration. Thank you so much to our champion for the day, and of course our young participants. And if you want to see more of the platform, please join us next week Thursday at 8 p.m. as we bring you another industry leader. From myself, Belonkosi, and the rest of the team, it is good night and God bless.